Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mr. Bryce, and I'm with Susquehanna Valley High School here in Conklin, New York. There's my email address if you want to contact me. We're doing the Algebra 1 Common Core Regents exam from January 2016. We're on problem number 35. This is a part 3 question, which is worth 4 points. Remember, a correct response is worth 1 point, and showing your work is worth the other 3 points. So Erica, the manager of Stellar Beans, collected data on the daily high temperature and revenue from coffee sales. Wanted to see if there was a connection between the temperature outside, and how much coffee was sold. Data from the 9 days this past fall are shown in the table below. Okay, now I wonder which one is X and which one is Y. Yeah, if not given, of course, the first one is X and the second one is Y. However, it does have T is our variable and F of T. F of T is the same as Y. F of X is the same as Y. G of T is the same as Y. So you get the idea. State the linear regression function f of t that estimates the daily coffee sales with a high temperature T. Round all values to the nearest integer. That's a positive or negative whole number. Okay, so since it says a linear regression function, I immediately get out my calculator. The diagnostics are already turned on. And to do a regression, the first thing I have to do is enter in the data. So you hit stat. Choice 1 is edit. And this is where we're going to enter the data. If there's already data there, you just go on top of the line, hit clear and enter. Then you go on top of the line, hit clear and enter. And while I'm thinking about it, remember that these top two lines have to stay L1 and L2, otherwise it's not going to work. Now, the L1 data is 54. You hit enter. They're all the X's, and then 50 and hit enter. 62 and hit enter. Once you enter in all of the X values, you'll notice right down on the bottom, it says that I'm on the 10th data. And since I'm on a blank, then that's right, because there are 9 numbers I entered. That's just a way to check to make sure that I entered in the proper quantity of numbers. You'll notice after entering in all the Y values that the level is common right there for the L1 and L2. It should be the same height. Otherwise, you don't have the same number of X's and Y's, and it's not a function. So we're trying to find the equation. So now I hit the stat button again. This time I go over to calculate, and it says a linear regression, so it's choice 4. If it wanted exponential, I would go to choice 0. Let's just make sure the exponential is really there at 0. Yes, it is. And then a quadratic is choice 5. So I'm going to go to linear, choice 4. You hit enter, and there it is. So we should write down that a equals negative 58 because it says round to the nearest integer. B equals 6,182. And, oh, sorry, yep, there we go. A is negative 58. And then the R squared and the R numbers are not used for this. F of t equals negative 58x plus 6,182. State the correlation coefficient R of the data to the nearest hundredth. There it is, negative 0.94. Tenths place is the first decimal, hundredths place is the second decimal. Does R indicate a strong linear relationship between the variables? Strong because anything near -1 or +1 is strong. Period. That's it for this question. Let's go on to the next. A contractor has 48 meters of fencing he is going to use as a perimeter of a rectangular garden. The length of one side of the garden represented by X. The area of the garden is 108 square meters. Determine algebraically the dimensions of the garden. That means you cannot guess and check. However, if you don't know, go ahead and guess and check, because 1 point is for the right answer. Better to get 1 point than nothing at all. So because it's a rectangular garden, the first thing that we always feel like doing is drawing a rectangle. And then says the length of one side of the garden is represented by x. Well, why don't we make that one x? And then the area of the garden is 108 square meters. So not quite sure where we're going here, but why don't we call this the length? I really don't want to use y. Why don't we use b? Okay, so where were we? I'm trying to figure out what the dimensions of the garden are. And what I know is that if I add up all the sides, x plus b plus b, it has to be 48 meters of fence because that's the perimeter, and that length times width has to equal 108 meters squared. So here we have 2x plus 2b equals 48, and I know that x times b has to equal 108. Now, if I have two equations and two variables, I immediately think of solving this equation using a systems of equations. So I'm going to take this one, and I am going to solve for x. So I'm going to subtract 2b from both sides, and I get 2x equals 48 minus 2b. And then I'm going to divide by 2, and when I divide by 2, I have to divide everything by 2, and I get x equals 24 minus b. Now that I have that, I'm going to take this equation, and everywhere I see an x, I'm going to put 24 minus b. So the first thing is an x, so I'm going to put 24 minus b, and then the second thing is a b equals 108. I'm going to distribute 24b minus b squared is 108. Since the b squared is negative, I'm going to add the b squared to both sides, and I'm going to subtract the 24b from both sides. And I'm going to write the b squared first, then the minus 24b, and then the plus 108. That just makes it go into standard form. Now I have to factor this, and this is why I have this table right here. What I did with the graphing calculator is I put into y equals 108 divided by x, and that gives me all the factors, all the numbers that multiply to be 108 and add up to negative 24. Let me see, what ones add up to negative 24? Those right there add up to negative 24. So those are the factors. So b minus 6 and b minus 18 equals 0. So when we solve this, b minus 6 equals 0, b minus 18 equals 0. So b is 6 and b is 18. How is that possible? How can we have two lengths? Well, x can be 18 and b can be 6. You'll notice that they do add up to be 48 and they do multiply to be 108. Determine algebraically the dimensions of the gardens. There we go, in meters. Okay, now I know that we have been practicing factoring using the zeros, using the graph. So you can go either method. Don't be confused, okay? There's lots of ways to get there. This is just one of them.